What's happening, everybody? The time is near. Football around the corner. Training camps underway. We'll dive into the world of the Rebels with Locked On Ole Miss host Stephen Willis and hear from Ryan Silverfield about the mystery that is Memphis football this year. The 24th floor starts right now. Football is underway, and with this week marks the start of fall camp for college programs across the nation, including the Ole Miss Rebels. 1 year removed from a 10-3 season, falling just shy of the college football playoffs, Lane Kiffin will have to reload for his Rebels to find themselves in the promised land come December. It is today's Big Idea.
That's the standard that we've created. It's the expectations that we have. 21 wins in the last 2 years. These players have been talked to a lot about that.
Out is Jackson Dart, the 3-year starter turned first-round pick with the New York Giants. In is Austin Simmons, the sophomore, now with the hopes of Oxford on his shoulders. He'll have to get on the same page as Caden Lee and a new group of receivers after 3 from last year's stable headed to the NFL.
I feel like it's just timing. We've done a lot of trips together in the off season, just building timing and chemistry and things like that. And we'll come out here some nights and throw and get more timing down. So I feel like that's been big for us.
Defensively, the reins fall to Suntarian Perkins, who after an All-SEC 13 2024 is a preseason All-American.
I definitely feel like we underrated. We got a lot of we're a young group of guys. Definitely, we lost a lot last year, so everybody knows. Underrated us, but we definitely got a great group of guys there on just ready to go to work.
4, if you would have lost a lot of significant players here, you'd be looking at the voting and be, at the bottom of the conference. Is it different that you're not being talked about, in the top 10 in the country? So that's a good place to be for Ole Miss that those questions are coming up now.
A lot of good questions for Ole Miss. Coming up, we got my guy, Stephen Willis of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Should be your first choice for all things Ole Miss. Let's go ahead and bring Stephen in on the boxes. My good friend, how are you doing, sir? Are you excited for football season?
Man, it is awesome because now that camp has started, you're no longer talking about what could happen. You're talking about what did happen, even if they are in shirts and shorts, and now you're experts on everything that's going to happen going forward. But I am excited that fall camp is underway, and this is going to be a fun year, I think, for the Rebels.
All right, and you mentioned, gotta look. Everybody thinks they're an expert on all things, whatever their college football program is. We know you are the expert, so let's kind of dive in some of the big topics that will face Ole Miss this year. Kiffin says it's a good thing that people are asking why Ole Miss isn't necessarily in the top 10 or so of teams that should be in the college football playoff. In your opinion, should there be more noise around this Ole Miss roster than maybe it was a year ago?
I think that everybody needs to realize that this is one of the more talented rosters that Ole Miss has ever had. And just because last year was a 12-0 roster, and if you look at the NFL draft and the players that were around, the All-Americans and things like that, it kind of pans out. But that doesn't mean that this is a bad roster because those first-round picks are gone. This roster is set up in a position to where Ole Miss can be pretty good, but Ole Miss will need some breaks this year. Last year, I like to say Ole Miss had a 12-0 roster, and they went 9-3 with it. This year, if they take a step back, it's still probably a 10-11 win roster, not quite as talented and top-end heavy as last year.
And Kiffin said he wants this team to be more blue-collar when we spoke to him earlier this week. What exactly does blue-collar mean for this team, and in what ways are you seeing them going to make more of that approach?
They're going to hit a little bit more than fall camp. They had a kinder, gentler fall camp last year whenever they had a bunch of stars going through. And in my opinion, it kind of bit them a little bit whenever they got to the Kentucky game. They kind of got out-physicaled, out-toughed in that game. Lane Kiffin is trying to instill the toughness that is needed to win these one-score games. Ole Miss went 0-3 in one-score games a year ago. Whenever things went well, they were front runners. But whenever things got challenging, they usually lost the ball game. They're trying to figure out how to get tougher, the blue-collar mindset. They're going to go to work every single day. They're going to try and out-call you, out-scratch, out-tough you in a football game And that's kind of what I think Lane Kiffin means by blue collar attitude. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to pull that off, because this year's schedule, to me, is probably a little bit easier than last year's schedule. Now, the game at Georgia and the game at Norman, they're both going to be difficult, but 9 games inside the state of Mississippi. 2 of your SEC road games are at Kentucky and at Mississippi State. I mean, the schedule sets up probably better than last year for a run.
Yeah, home against Arkansas, home against Tulane, who, for those who are Memphis Tiger fans as well or keep up with the American, know Tulane is not necessarily any slouch. You get LSU at home this year, Washington State, Wazoo at home as well. But a lot of the hopes and dreams of Rebel Nation land on the shoulders of Austin Simmons this year. We know he is coming in after Jackson Dart had basically rewrote the record books. How much confidence do you have, Stephen, that Austin Simmons can pick up where Dart left off and get the Rebels into the college football playoff?
I think it's going to be important for Austin Simmons to not try and be Jackson Dart, because they are 2 different quarterbacks. If you want a comp, kind of, it's Mac Jones kind of, Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama 2019, 2020. That level of quarterback play is the way it's going to look. You're not going to see as much RPO action. You're not going to see as much quarterback running the football. Lane Kiffin even mentioned the fact that he doesn't expect Austin to run very often. So they're going to be different. It's going to be interesting to see what Lane Kiffin does with a true pocket passer, if this is absolutely true, and that's the way he's thinking. If you have a true pocket passer, does he go back and revert to his days at USC with Norm Chow, the Matt Leinart stuff? Will it look more like Matt Corral? How will the offense look? Even if you go back to Tennessee in that one year, Jonathan Crompton, what they do. The quarterbacks and the offenses change based on personnel. Lane Kiffin is known for doing that. I'm curious to seeing what version of the offense he instills in Austin Simmons.
All right, let's jump into some of these sound bites that we've got. We got a chance to talk to several of the players on the first day of camp. One thing that Lane Kiffin acknowledged and mentioned really at SEC Media Days more than on earlier this week was that the running game was going to have to be better. They brought in a ton of transfers. They got Logan Diggs coming back from LSU. Here's what they had to say about healthy competition in the running backs room.
It's only one ball at the end of the day. It's only going to be one ball. So why am I going to let him go harder than me? Because I want the ball, he want the ball, we both want the ball. But what's going to separate us from, who gonna get it or not?
We all bring something different to the table, and we all give each other free game. Like, I may be good at something you're not, but I'm willing to sit here and tell you something to give you a different outlook on something. And vice versa, they're willing to tell me something to give me a different outlook on something. So it's been a friendly competition.
So Logan Diggs actually was with the team in 2024, was kind of rehabbing an injury most of that year. They thought he potentially could be a factor there towards the end of the year. Damian Taylor transfers in from Troy. There's a couple of other running backs in that room that are going to, make some noise for their own share of the carries there. Will the running back room, in your opinion, be improved, and could it contribute to more of that blue-collar attitude that we were talking about before?
Yes, I think the running back room will be improved, and that's because after Quinshon Judkins left Ole Miss last year, I think they panicked a little bit. Just looking what's going on, they started taking commitments from different transfers in there, and they didn't hit on any of them. Nothing against the player or anything like that. It just didn't hit, didn't work out. This year has been much more thoughtful in the way that they went after the running back room. You have Logan Diggs, who's going to be about 18 months post an injury to his ACL. He should be healthy. He's going without a brace. He has a sleeve on. You have Keywan Lacey, who they absolutely love as the explosive type running back for their offense. He is the guy you get into space. Then you have Damian Taylor and Shakai Mills-Knight, true freshman from the Baylor school. He has a chance to be a true thumper in this offense, depending on how fall camp goes.
Yeah, when I had my sit down with Logan, he talked a lot about being able to just kind of step back and watch. And he described kind of a lot of miscommunication, things like that was going on in that running back room between them the quarterback, the offensive line, those kind of things. And I think if the Rebels can clean a lot of that up, as well as kind of adopting more of that blue collar attitude, that could be the difference in a couple of one-score games. Talk about the receivers now. Caden Lee is the presumed wide receiver 1. Obviously was with the team a lot last year. Was kind of the wide receiver 3. But will someone else challenge him for that top receiver spot? Stribling, maybe?
Yeah, Deshaun Stribling. We did our Locked On Top 100 College Football Players. He came in at number 85 on that list. I do think Caden Lee, he has a chance to lead the entire SEC in receptions. I think the work that he does with Austin Simmons, they're friends. They have that connection. It's real similar to the one that Matt Corral had with Elijah Moore back in 2000. I think Lane Kiffin knows how to work with that, so you'll see Caden Lee do that. Deshaun Stribling, he was clocked at 21 miles an hour just recently, actually. And this is the best wide receiver unit that Ole Miss has had under Lane Kiffin in Oxford. And that there's no Trey Harris in this room. Deshaun Stribling is very, very good. But top to bottom, Harrison Wallace III on the other side of the field, and Traylon Ray and Deuce Alexander, and then the freshman class of Caleb Cunningham, who has a chance to be an absolute star of what's going on. This unit is 8-9 wide receivers deep, and Ole Miss traditionally has not substituted very often at the wide receiver position. So this is one of the things we need to keep an eye on, because there's enough talent to where they should probably be on the field. I think Caden Lee is going to be the alpha dog, but I think you're going to see him line up on the same side as Deshaun Stribling to prevent double teams, and they're kind of going to go to work, if that makes any sense.
That is very high praise to say it's the best receiver room that Lane Kiffin's had when he had 3 receivers go to the NFL last year. I hear what you're saying, though, especially Caden Lee. Even if he is not necessarily the deep threat, I can see him being the security blanket in a way where you're in a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 situation. Austin Simmons is going to be looking for him in terms of safety and security and moving the chains in a lot of ways. Let's talk about the defense. Was one of the most staunch defense in the country last year. One of the best sacking defenses last year. But again, kind of the theme, lost a lot of talent. We're talking about 8 total players on the Rebels that went to the NFL. One of them, Walter Nolan. You lose J.J. Pegues. This defense feels they might be just a tad bit underrated. Take a listen.
I definitely feel like we underrated. You know, we got a lot of, we're a young group of guys. Definitely, we lost a lot last year, so everybody knows. Underrated us, but we definitely got a great group of guys that just really go to work.
Sure, for sure. I feel like definitely with all those guys leaving, I feel like everybody feel like, we just fell off and don't have nobody to replace it, or the returning guys not going to get the job done. But definitely nothing but fire to the field.
So that's Centurion Perkins and TJ Dougherty there. They say the defense is underrated. Steven, do you agree? Underrated, overrated, rated just about the right way?
I think they are a little bit underrated, honestly, but not necessarily in the way that you think of, because last year was the best defense potentially in school history. And so you're not going to hit that level. So you're obviously going to take a little bit of a step back. And when you look at 8 starters going on to the next level, Trey Amos is going to probably start in Washington, and you look at Walter Nolan and Princely and Monmiel and Chris Paul. I mean, there's NFL players all over the place that they lost. It's natural to assume that there's a little bit of a step back, but on the famous Georgia play a year ago, to where every defender for Ole Miss got into the backfield, it was Xavion Harris that led the charge on that one. Jam Brown and William Eccles both made a freshman All-American team. You have 5 stars in Cam Franklin and Deshaun Womack. You have Prince Will Monmiel lining up on the other side. And, of course, TJ Dougherty coming back, who was the green dot a year ago, and Centurion Perkins, who he's the leading returning sack man in the entire Southeastern Conference. The front 7 for Ole Miss is going to be pretty good. There's not a Walter Nolan in this unit, so don't expect a Walter Nolan. But if they just do their job, they have enough talent to be really good and really salty. The back end of that defense is where I'm concerned, honestly. The safeties position, Jalen Braxton moved back into safety in the first practice. They do like Ricky Fletcher. They do like the other corners they have. Safety is the competition to keep an eye on in this camp.
Yeah, it certainly was not the strong suit, I would say, of Ole Miss last year. It was definitely their front seven. I think the front seven will kind of be the strong suit again for this iteration of the Ole Miss Rebels. As we go into the fall, we know August 30th is the first game of the year at home against Georgia State. Steven, give me your record prediction for this year.
The record that we're doing on Locked On Ole Miss, we did our W's and L's back in the first part of July, and we came up with 10-2. And the reason we did that is because Ole Miss doesn't leave the state of Mississippi for 9 games. There's 9 games inside the state of Mississippi. Then you go to Kentucky as one of your road games. Now, the game in Norman and the game in Athens, that's going to be that's a bear, and they're back to back. You have Georgia, Oklahoma, and South Carolina back to back to back. There could be some problems there. LSU and Oxford could be some problems. But Lane Kiffin historically has figured out a way to win games in Oxford. So the road games are going to be the ones you look at of what's going to happen here. Getting Florida at home, getting LSU at home, that's a win to me. I think the Tulane game could be a little bit of a trap, especially right before LSU. And Mississippi State is always a weird game. It just always is. But if everything goes chalk, that's about chalk for this season, about 10-2, I think.
10-2, all right. They went 9-3 in the regular season last year, ended the year 10-3 with a win in the Gator Bowl. Stephen Willis, host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Steve-O, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube at Locked On Ole Miss or wherever you get your podcast. And occasionally I'll pop in here on the 24th floor to drop a little bit of knowledge as well. But if you want to catch us on Twitter, you can catch me at the Stephen Willis, and I'm all over social as Locked On Ole Miss. So if you want to come have a good time following Ole Miss sports, I'm your guy.
He is your guy. He knows everything there is to know about Ole Miss basketball and football. We appreciate you, Steve-O, and we'll bring you back soon. Let's take a break, but when we come back, we're going to dive into Memphis Tigers fall camp and what Ryan Silverfield had to say about all the many questions surrounding his football team.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app, streaming 24/7 local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
It's how big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
Welcome back. As training camp began, it was also the first opportunity to hear from Lane Kiffin following the death of freshman football player Corey Adams. Adams was killed at a pool party shooting in Cordova last Sunday. At training camp on Tuesday, head coach Lane Kiffin spoke about Adams and what he meant to the team.
You know, first time with you guys since the tragic passing of Corey Adams. And, you know, he was just with us for a short time, but he made a major impact on us by how he worked, who he was, how he led, even as a freshman. I told the story at the service here the other night. You know, very rarely do we ever have a freshman that in off-season conditioning and running was challenging seniors to finish in a standard, and that's who he was. And just a tragic, tragic passing.
Closer to home, the goal remains the same for Tigers football. Make it to the conference championship game in the American. They haven't done so since 2019. It'll be the same expectations, but a new roster with a lot of question marks going into camp for Ryan Silverfield.
It seemed like the Tigers knew who they were going to be heading into fall camp 2024. Seth Hennigan was entering his 4th season as a starting QB with many of his offensive weapons returning. Leading tackler Chandler Martin would return to anchor the defense. None of that is true in fall camp 2025.
Even some of those with like 75 to 80% roster retention, like there's more unknowns in college football than ever before, and I'll be the first to say, especially with our roster.
Instead, Ryan Silverfield says there will be true competition at the quarterback spot. Senior Nevada transfer Brendan Lewis has 35 starts to his name and seems the likely option after a good spring. But 4-star freshman A.J. Hill and returning sophomore Arrington Maiden will make Lewis earn it.
This time, all 3 quarterbacks that are competing for the starting job have a firm and well understanding of this offense. And now it's just, okay, who can go out there and make the right throws, make the right reads, hand the ball off when appropriate, put us in the best position to have success.
Competition will be a theme across the board with so much roster turnover in the era of the transfer portal. The running back room the most stable, with Greg DeRosier and Sutton Smith returning, but can either be healthier than they were a year before.
As a group, as a room, that we've taken on a leadership role within the whole offense, and I feel like a lot of people trust in us. That room is definitely a special room.
All AAC defensive lineman William Whitmore Jr. will be one of just 5 returning starters in total for Memphis. With just a month until Game 1 in Liberty Stadium, Ryan Silverfield has plenty of questions to answer.
So much work to do. We're not even close to being ready for Game 1, but that's the expectation in training camp, to get better every single day, and we certainly will.
Coming up, the Grizzlies are heading to Europe next season, but it means they won't be around for an iconic Memphis weekend. What fans have to say about that, that's next.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app. Streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news. Live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus. Complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
How big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene, faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
Ja Morant has already been getting pretty good use of his passport, spending part of his summer in Asia, but it looks like the entire Grizzlies organization will be going international. The NBA announcing 2 games for Memphis in Europe this upcoming season. The Grizzlies will play the Orlando Magic twice across the pond, first on January 15th in Berlin and a second time in London on January 18th. It's the first time the Grizzlies have ever played regular season games outside of North America, although they have done so in the preseason a few times in the 2000s. It's a bittersweet pill to swallow for fans. It means that Desmond Bane, who was traded to the Orlando Magic, will not get a return to FedEx Forum in 2026. He was drafted by the Grizz and played 5 seasons on Beale Street. It also means there will not be an MLK Day game in 2026, although the Grizzlies will still host festivities that week. The MLK game is a beloved tradition in Memphis, and many fans have voiced frustrations on social media. But how will the team's absence impact events on MLK Day? ABC 24's Desmond Nugent tells us what Memphians have to say.
The National Basketball Association has been playing games on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day for nearly 40 years. It's been a tradition for the Memphis Grizzlies since the team moved to Memphis in 2001. For the first time, the team will play in Europe on MLK Day.
Memphis is always going to be Memphis. We have other things that we can do to celebrate Martin Luther King's death.
Grizzlies fan Ernest Palmer IV says he trusts the team's decision not to play at home. He says playing on an international stage puts Memphis on another level. He says MLK Day is bigger than sports.
Remember what the day is all about. It's about Martin Luther King, not basketball. So I think we'll never lose that purpose, what the holiday really means.
At Withers Collection Museum and Gallery on Bill Street, the Grizzlies not playing in Memphis could hurt business.
We do get a lot of extra traffic during that time period because when people come to Memphis, they want to see the attraction, the National Civil Rights Museum, the Lorraine Motel, the Withers Museum here, and the other museum, Stax, Sun Studio.
Calhoun says he hopes the city or county will plan another event.
Hopefully we can have a city-county game or a Melrose Houston High School game or something like that at FedEx Forum.
The Grizzlies president weighed in on the NBA's decision, saying the team is grateful for the chance to represent the league overseas. He also made it clear, even though the team won't be in Memphis on MLK Day, they're still committed to supporting the community during the holiday. What does that exactly mean? We'll just have to wait and see. But he gave the notion this international trip is essentially a one-off thing, and the Grizzlies will be back in Memphis for MLK Day in 2027. A big makeover is coming to AutoZone Park, home of the Redbirds. The city of Memphis plans to spend $55 million on renovations on the ballpark over the next few years. The work includes basic repairs like bathrooms, lights, and seating, and upgrades to make games more fun for the fans. The team behind the project hopes the improvements will help keep the Redbirds in Memphis and open the door for more events and development around the stadium. Coming up, it's the best thing I saw this week, and it comes from NBA MVP Nikola Jokic. Stay tuned.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app. Streaming 24/7 local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
It's how big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene, faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
The best thing I saw this week has to go to Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. Jokic's horse won a big race this week back in Serbia, and the three-time MVP is a pretty stoic guy normally, but he's more emotional about it than we've ever seen him before, visibly crying, hugging the caddy there. The man won the NBA Finals and was Finals MVP. He barely cracked a smile then. It just proves that basketball is for sure just a job for Jokic, and to use your 9-to-5 to help finance your real hobbies, your real passions. I love it for the big fella. He's so emotional. That's all I got for you today, folks. Thanks to Stephen Willis for joining the show, dropping some knowledge on the Rebels. Thanks to Richard Denson and Leanna Davis for making it go behind the scenes. We are back next week. Until then, I will see you later.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 24 Plus app everywhere you stream.